My name is Madeline Carter. I'm 30 years old. And 6 months ago, my older sister took everything from me. Not with screaming, not with tears, not even with anger. She did it with signatures, with documents, with the kind of quiet precision that only comes from someone who has been preparing for a very long time, while everyone else was too distracted to notice. But before you decide what kind of person she is, you need to understand what kind of person I was. I was the favorite, not in a subtle way, not in the way families pretend doesn't exist. I was the obvious one, the protected one, the forgiven one, the one who could burn everything down and still be handed the keys again the next morning. My older sister, Caroline Carter, was 4 years older than me. She was everything a parent is supposed to want. Straight A's, student council, varsity athlete, full scholarship, law school, top of her class. She built her life step by step, brick by brick, while I tore mine down just as quickly. And my parents? They nodded at her achievements. Good job, Caroline. And then they turned back to me, to whatever disaster I was creating that week, because I was always creating something. A failed class, a fight, a suspension, a car accident at 17, a DUI at 19, another at 22. Jobs I lost before I could even remember my coworkers' names. Debt I couldn't pay. Mistakes I didn't learn from. I was chaos. And my parents? They cleaned it up. Every time. No conditions. No consequences. Just love. Endless, unconditional love. For me, Caroline got expectations. I got excuses. And I used that difference like a credit card with no limit. I spent it on forgiveness, on second chances, on third chances, on chances I didn't deserve anymore. And for 30 years, it worked, until it didn't. Caroline got married when she was 28. His name is Daniel Brooks. He was steady in a way that felt almost unreal to me, the kind of man who shows up, who plans, who builds. He worked long hours, climbing his way through a law firm, just like Caroline. They made sense together, in a way I never really understood, and maybe never tried to. They had a daughter 2 years later. Lily, 3 years old, soft brown curls, the kind of laugh that makes people turn around just to find where it came from. My mother fell in love with her instantly. Finally, something in our family that wasn't broken, something pure. And for a while, things felt stable, at least on the surface. Caroline was building a life. Daniel was supporting it. Lily was the center of it. And I was orbiting, still drifting, still being caught every time I fell. And somewhere in that orbit, I got too close to something I should have stayed far away from. Daniel. It didn't happen all at once. That's the part people don't like to hear. They want a moment, a clear line, a single decision you can point to and say, that's where it went wrong. But it wasn't like that. It was smaller, quieter, more dangerous. Caroline worked late, a lot. Daniel worked late too, but not always at the same time. So sometimes I'd stop by, help with things, fix something small, stay for dinner. Lily would already be asleep, and Daniel and I would talk. At first, it was nothing, just conversation. Easy, comfortable. He didn't look at me like I was a problem. He didn't talk to me like I needed fixing. He just listened. And when you spend your whole life being the center of attention for all the wrong reasons, being seen like that feels different. It feels real. I told myself it was harmless, that I deserved to feel normal for once, that it didn't mean anything, but meaning has a way of growing in silence. One night, he said he felt invisible, said Caroline was always working, always tired, always somewhere else, even when she was sitting right next to him. I should have stopped it there. I should have said, talk to your wife, fix your marriage, don't talk to me about this. But I didn't, because for once, I wasn't the problem. I was the one being chosen, and I didn't want to give that up. So instead, I said the worst thing I could have said. You're not invisible. 4 words. That's all it took. 4 words to open a door I knew I shouldn't walk through, and walk through anyway. The affair lasted 3 months. I won't dress it up. I won't soften it. There isn't a version of this story where I'm misunderstood. I knew exactly what I was doing, where I was doing it, whose life I was stepping into and tearing apart. In my sister's house, while she worked, while her daughter slept down the hall, while everything she built stood intact around us, until it didn't. Caroline found out the way people always do. A phone, a message, a name she trusted, attached to something she couldn't ignore. She read everything. 3 months, in less than an hour. And then she came to see me. It was 11 at night. I remember the knock. Calm, steady, not aggressive, not desperate, just deliberate. I opened the door, and there she was. No tears, no shaking hands, just stillness. She looked at me like I was something she had already figured out. Something solved. How long, she asked. 3 months. In my house? Yes. A pause. Then, while Lily was there? I hesitated, and that hesitation said everything.
Yes.
She nodded once. Just once. No anger, no screaming, no accusations. Just a quiet, almost thoughtful, okay. And then she turned around and walked away. That was it. No fight, no scene, no closure. Just one word. Okay. At the time, I thought that meant I had time. That maybe, somehow, this could still be fixed. I didn't understand then that okay wasn't acceptance. It wasn't forgiveness. It was a decision. And I had just given her the final piece she needed to make it. The next morning, I went to my parents' house. I told them first, because that's what people like me do. We get there before the truth does. Shape it, soften it, make it sound like something that happened to us, instead of something we chose. I sat at the kitchen table, my mother across from me, my father standing near the counter. And I said, I made a mistake. And just like always, my mother reached for my hand, her voice soft, worried, protective. Madeline, what happened? Not, what did you do? What happened? Like it was weather, like it just occurred. And I leaned into it, because that's what I had been trained to do my entire life. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I said quietly. We were both just lonely. My father didn't move, didn't speak right away. Then he asked one question. Does Caroline know? I nodded. She came to see me last night. What did she say? I swallowed. Just okay. Something shifted in his expression. Something I didn't understand at the time, but I do now. Because my father knew something I didn't. He knew my sister. And he knew that silence from someone like her was never empty. Okay, he repeated slowly. And for the first time in my life, my father looked at me like he wasn't sure he could fix this. Call her, he said. My mother reached for her phone immediately. Caroline didn't answer. Not that day. Not the next. Not the day after that. By the end of the week, she was gone. And she didn't just leave. She took Lily with her. And the silence she left behind was louder than anything she could have said. Silence doesn't feel dangerous at first. It feels temporary, like something that will break if you just wait long enough. A day passes, then two. By the third day, my mother was calling Caroline every hour. By the fifth, she was driving past the house. Lights off, car gone, no sign of anyone. Daniel wasn't answering either. At first, I told myself that meant something. That maybe they were together, talking, fixing it. Maybe Caroline had confronted him. Maybe this was just the fallout. Something messy, something emotional, something human. But by day 7, even I couldn't pretend anymore. Because Caroline didn't do messy. She didn't do emotional chaos. She did structure, plans, execution. And we were sitting in the middle of something she had already decided. We just didn't know what it was yet. It was my mother who panicked first. Not about Caroline, about Lily. She took Lily, she kept saying, pacing the kitchen. She took Lily and she won't answer me. My father tried to stay calm. There's no custody order, he said carefully. She's the mother. She has the right. But calm didn't help, because this wasn't just about rights. This was about access, about control, about being shut out. And for the first time in 30 years, my mother didn't have access to something she loved. On the 8th day, the letters arrived. Not emails, not texts, not calls, letters, delivered by courier like something official, final. There were 3 of them. One for my parents, one for Daniel, and one for me. My parents opened theirs first. I remember the way my mother's hand shook as she slid her finger under the seal. The way my father leaned in slightly, reading over her shoulder. And then, the silence. Not confusion, not questions. Just silence. My father took the letter from her. Read it again. Slower. More carefully. Like maybe if he read it twice, it would say something different. It didn't, because it was written by a lawyer. And lawyers don't write things that can be misunderstood. Caroline was exercising her right of first refusal on the family estate. 10 acres of land my parents had owned for 40 years. Land that was supposed to be split between us. Supposed to be. There was a breakdown attached. Detailed. Precise. Every dollar Caroline had invested into that property over the last 8 years. Repairs. Improvements. Taxes. Structures. $340,000. Her money. Documented. Receipted. Accounted for. There was also something else. Something I hadn't known existed. A legal agreement. Signed. Notarized. Granting her the right to purchase the property first, with her investments deducted from the price. She wasn't taking it. She was buying it, at a price she had already spent years earning. My mother looked up at my father. He can't do this, she said, her voice thin. This is our land. My father didn't answer right away, because he knew something she didn't. He had signed that agreement years ago, when Caroline was the one handling everything. When Caroline was the one stepping in, while I was too busy being taken care of. Then came the second part of the letter. The house. The one I grew up in. 4 bedrooms. The kitchen where we were standing. The place my mother still called home like it was something permanent. There was a loan. $80,000. Medical bills from years ago. Caroline had paid it. Not as a gift. As a loan. Secured against the house. Legal. Filed. Active. And now, called in. Full repayment. 90 days. Or foreclosure proceedings would begin. My mother sat down slowly, like her body understood something her mind hadn't caught up to yet. My father folded the paper carefully. Too carefully. Like precision could undo what it said. And for the first time in my life, neither of them looked at me. Daniel's letter came next. He opened it alone. Didn't sit with us. Didn't speak. Just stood near the doorway, reading. And as he read, his face changed. Not in one moment, but gradually, like something sinking in piece by piece. By the time he reached the last page, he looked older, like something inside him had collapsed quietly. It was a divorce filing. Grounds, adultery. There was no ambiguity. No softened language. No attempt to protect anyone. Just facts. And evidence. All of it. 3 months of messages. Printed. Organized. Time-stamped. Everything we had said, everything we had done, turned into something official. Something permanent. Something that would exist long after we stopped pretending it didn't matter. There was more. A custody petition. Caroline was requesting full custody of Lily. Primary residence. Limited visitation. Supervised. Based on what the document called a compromised home environment. I didn't understand that phrase at first. Not fully. Not until I saw the attachments. Records. Patterns. Timelines. Daniel's work schedule. My visits to the house. Daycare pickup logs. Dates where Lily had been picked up early. Aligned perfectly with the times I had been there. Babysitting schedules at my parents' house. Cross-referenced. Mapped. Reconstructed. Day by day. Like a case. Like evidence. Like something Caroline had taken apart and rebuilt into a narrative no one could argue with. I felt sick. Not because it was unfair, but because it was exact. There was no exaggeration. No twisting. Just truth. Laid out in a way that made it impossible to escape. Then there was my letter. No legal language. No attachments. Just one page. Handwritten. Caroline's handwriting. I knew it instantly. Clean. Precise. Controlled. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time, because my brain refused to process it the first 2. You were the favorite for 30 years. Mom chose you every time. Dad saved you every time. I built everything myself. My career, my money, my investments. The estate, the house, the loan. I built it because no one was going to give it to me the way they gave everything to you. My hands started shaking halfway through, but I didn't stop reading. I couldn't. And then you took the one thing I built that wasn't about money. My marriage. My home. My family. I closed my eyes for a second. Just a second, like that might soften it. It didn't. You took it because you've never been told no. So here it is. No. That word again. Short. Final. Unavoidable. The estate is mine, legally. The house is tied to a loan you can't repay. Lily is with me. Daniel can fight for custody, but he'll lose. I documented everything. I swallowed hard. Because I knew she had. I had just seen it. And you? You get to stay exactly where you've always been. The favorite of 2 people who are about to lose everything. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. Each line felt like something pressing down on my chest. Enjoy it. That was the end. No signature. No goodbye. Just truth. I read it 4 times. Because every time I reached the end, I thought maybe I had misunderstood something. Missed something. Found some space where I could argue. Defend. Explain. But there was nothing. Because she wasn't wrong. Not about any of it. My mother called a family meeting that night. Emergency. Everyone. Aunt Lisa, Uncle Robert, Grandmother Evelyn. All of them gathered around the same kitchen table where I had sat just days earlier, asking for help, being protected, being comforted. Now, no one looked at me the same way. My mother held up the letter, her voice trembling. He's taking everything, she said. The land, the house, Lily. We have to stop him. Uncle Robert read the documents carefully. Twice, then set them down. There's nothing to stop, he said quietly. My mother shook her head. That can't be right. It is, he replied. This is solid. She's been building this position for years. Years. While we were busy pretending everything was fine, my grandmother spoke next. She didn't look at my mother or my father. She looked at me. Straight through me. What exactly did you think was going to happen, Madeline? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. You slept with your sister's husband, she continued calmly, in her home, while her child was there. Each word landed clean, sharp, precise. No raised voices, no broken plates. And you thought that meant it wasn't serious? I felt something twist in my chest. I didn't think it would go this far, I said quietly. She tilted her head slightly. Then you don't understand what this far is. A pause. Then, this isn't revenge, she said. This is consequence. No one argued, because there was nothing to argue. By the time that meeting ended, something had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, just permanently. Caroline hadn't just left. She had removed herself from all of us, completely. And everything she had built along the way was now out of our reach. We just hadn't felt it yet. Not fully, but it was coming. Slow, precise, unstoppable. Just like her, consequences don't arrive all at once. That's the part no one tells you. They come in layers, in paperwork, in quiet conversations where people stop defending you and start stepping back. The first real loss wasn't the house. It wasn't the land. It was the room. The shift inside that kitchen. Because after that meeting, no one spoke to me the same way again. Not even my mother. She still looked at me, but there was something new behind her eyes. Not anger. Not even disappointment. Something worse. Uncertainty. Like for the first time in 30 years, she didn't know how to protect me. The legal process moved quickly. Faster than any of us expected. Because Caroline hadn't just reacted. She had prepared. Uncle Robert made a few calls. Spoke to a lawyer he trusted. Got a second opinion. Then a third. Every answer came back the same. The agreement is airtight. She has every right. There's nothing to contest. My mother refused to accept it. She can't just take our property, she kept saying. But even as she said it, her voice sounded thinner, less certain, because deep down, she knew. She remembered signing those documents. She remembered trusting Caroline. She just never imagined that trust would be used like this. My father didn't argue, didn't raise his voice, didn't try to fix anything. He just sat there, quiet, reading the same paragraph over and over again like maybe it would change if he stared at it long enough. The house came first. The loan. $80,000. 90 days. We didn't have it. Not even close. I didn't have savings. Didn't have a job. Didn't have anything that could even begin to cover that kind of money. And for the first time, there was no one to step in. No one to clean it up. Caroline didn't need to push. She didn't need to threaten. She just waited, because she already knew the outcome. 2 weeks before the deadline, an offer came through her lawyer. Simple, clean, devastating. She would forgive the loan in exchange for the house. My mother cried when she read it. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. At the table, like something inside her had finally broken. My father signed the papers 3 days later. No argument, no negotiation, just a signature. Because the alternative was foreclosure. Public, humiliating, final. And just like that, the house was gone. Not sold, not lost, transferred to Caroline. I remember walking through it one last time. My room, still exactly the same. The walls, the window, the closet where I had shoved years of things I never cared enough to organize. Everything felt smaller somehow, like the space itself had shrunk. Or maybe I had. My mother stood in the kitchen, touching the counter like it might disappear if she let go. This was our home, she whispered. But it wasn't anymore. Not legally, not emotionally, not in any way that mattered. The estate was next, the 10 acres. The land that had been in our family for 40 years. The place we talked about like it was permanent. Like it was ours by default. It wasn't. It never had been. Not in the way we thought. Caroline exercised her right of first refusal. Just like the agreement said she could. The price was set. $1.2 million. Minus her documented investments. $340,000. Leaving. $860,000. Her lawyer transferred the funds within a week. Clean. Immediate. Unchallengeable. My father's lawyer reviewed everything again. Looking for something. Anything. A mistake. A loophole. A technicality. There wasn't one. It's done, he said quietly. And that was it. 40 years of ownership. Gone. Not stolen. Not taken. Bought. Fairly. Legally. Precisely. The family meeting after that felt different. Smaller. Quieter. Like everyone already knew, there was nothing left to say. My grandmother spoke again. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. This is what happens, she said calmly, when you spend 30 years building one child up and the other one learns to build alone. No one interrupted her. No one disagreed. Because they had all seen it. They had just never said it. The one you ignore, she continued, learns not to need you. Her eyes shifted to me. And the one you protect never learns to stop. I wanted to say something. To defend myself. To explain. I don't even know what. But there was nothing left. Because every word felt hollow. Even to me. Daniel's situation unraveled just as quickly. Maybe faster. The divorce proceedings didn't drag out. There was too much evidence. Too much documentation. Too much clarity. He tried to fight it. Tried to argue for shared custody. tried to minimize what had happened. But Caroline had already done the work. The timeline, the messages, the patterns, everything laid out in a way that made it impossible to deny. The judge didn't need to interpret anything. It was all there, clear, structured, undeniable. Primary custody was awarded to Caroline. Full decision-making authority. Primary residence. Daniel got visitation. Every other weekend. Supervised. That word hit harder than anything else. Supervised. Because it wasn't just punishment. It was a statement. About judgment. About trust. About what the court believed he had shown by letting something like this happen in his home. I saw him once after the ruling. By accident. Outside a coffee shop. He looked different. Thinner. More tired. Like something had been stripped out of him. For a second, I thought about walking away, pretending I hadn't seen him. But he noticed me. And for a moment, we just stood there, looking at each other. There was no anger in his face. Not anymore. That part had already burned through. What was left was something colder. "You happy?" he asked. Just that. 2 words. Flat. Empty. I didn't answer. Because there wasn't an answer. Not one that made sense. He nodded slightly, like my silence confirmed something he already believed. "You took everything," he said quietly. Not accusing. Just stating a fact. Then he shook his head once. A small, almost tired movement. "No," he corrected himself. "I did." And then he walked away. That was the last time I saw him. My parents moved out 2 weeks later. A 2-bedroom apartment, 12 miles away. The furniture didn't fit the same. The space felt temporary, because it was. My mother still called the old house home sometimes. Then she would catch herself. Go quiet. Correct it. My father stopped talking. Not just to me, to everyone. He would sit in the living room, TV on, volume low, eyes fixed on the screen without really watching anything. The man who used to step in, fix things, make calls, find solutions, was gone. Not physically, but in every way that mattered. We didn't see Lily. Not once. Caroline's lawyer made that clear. Given the family's pattern of enabling behavior, contact was not in the child's best interest. Enabling. That word stayed in the apartment like a smell that wouldn't go away. Because it was true. My parents had enabled me for 30 years. And now, this was the cost. My mother cried more quietly now. Not in bursts. Not in breakdowns. Just constantly. Like something that never really stopped. And me? I was still there. In the 2nd bedroom. Sleeping in a space that didn't feel like mine. No job. No savings. No plan. Just the leftover of a life I had never actually built. And for the first time, there was no one left to pretend it wasn't my fault. Because everything that had been holding me up was gone. And all that was left was the weight of it. There's a moment, after everything collapses, when the noise stops. No more arguments, no more legal letters, no more decisions to make. Just quiet. That's where we live now, in that quiet. The apartment is too small for 3 people who used to pretend they had everything under control. 2 bedrooms, thin walls, a kitchen that barely fits a table for 4, which is ironic, considering there are only 3 of us now. My mother still wakes up early. Old habits. She makes coffee like she used to. Stands by the window like she's waiting for something. Sometimes I think she forgets. For a second, just a second, that there's nowhere she needs to be. No house to take care of. No granddaughter coming over. No life waiting outside that door. Then it hits her again. And I can see it. In the way her shoulders drop slightly. In the way she turns away from the window just a little too quickly. My father doesn't pretend anymore. He doesn't ask questions. Doesn't offer opinions. Doesn't even try to fix things. He sits in the same chair every day. Television on. Volume low. Eyes forward. Not watching. Just existing. I used to think anger was the worst outcome. That if he ever looked at me with anger, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I was wrong. This is worse. Because anger means there's still something left. Something alive. This is empty. We don't talk about Caroline. Not directly. But she's everywhere. In the silence. In the things we don't say. In the way my mother still keeps Lily's old drawings in a folder she hasn't touched in months. Lily turned 4 last month. We didn't celebrate. Didn't call. Didn't send anything. Because we can't. Caroline made that clear. But someone showed my mother a photo. A private account. A birthday party. Lily sitting at a table with a butterfly cake. Bright colors. Too many candles for someone so small. 7 other kids around her. All laughing. All part of a life we're not in. Caroline stood behind her. One hand resting lightly on Lily's shoulder. Smiling. Not forced. Not strained. Just calm. There was a man standing next to her. I didn't recognize him. Not important. Or maybe that's the point. Because life doesn't stop. Not even after something like this. It moves. It rebuilds. It replaces. And Caroline was always good at building. New city. New job. New life. No us. No family dinners. No holidays. No second chances. Just a clean break. I used to think that kind of thing was impossible, that no one really walks away from their entire family. But now I understand something I didn't before. She didn't walk away. She left a long time ago. 30 years ago. One ignored achievement at a time. One missed game. One quiet disappointment that no one noticed because they were too busy dealing with me. She didn't explode. She didn't demand attention. She didn't fight for space. She adapted. She built her life in a place that didn't need us. And when we finally pushed her far enough, she didn't react. She executed. Clean. Precise. Final. I see it now. All of it. In a way I never let myself see before. I wasn't just the favorite. I was the reason no one else got to be. Every time my parents chose me, they were choosing not to choose her. And she learned what that meant. That if she wanted something, she would have to build it herself. Protect it herself. And if anyone tried to take it, she would take everything back. I thought I understood consequences. I thought consequences were things that happened to me. Losing a job, getting arrested, making mistakes and dealing with them. But those weren't consequences. Those were inconveniences. Temporary. Fixable. This is consequence. Permanent. I don't have a job. I've been applying. Interviews that don't go anywhere. Conversations that end the moment someone looks closely enough at my past. Turns out, when you've spent your entire life being carried, you don't learn how to stand on your own. And when the support disappears, so do you. I sleep in a room that still smells like fresh paint. A space that doesn't hold any memories. Because none of us have been here long enough to make any. There are no photos on the walls. No history. No sense of belonging. Just a place. I used to think being the favorite meant winning. That I had something special. Something other people didn't. Now I understand. It wasn't a gift. It was a delay. A delay of every lesson I should have learned. Every boundary I should have been given. Every consequence I should have faced when it still could have changed me. Instead, everything was postponed until it couldn't be anymore. Until one decision. One unforgivable, irreversible decision. Collected all of it at once. And by then, it was too late. My mother still says her name sometimes. Quietly. Like she's afraid someone will hear. Caroline wouldn't do this, she whispered once. But she did, because we gave her every reason to, and I gave her the last one. I'm 30 years old. I don't have my sister. I don't have my niece. I don't have the house I grew up in. I don't have the land that was supposed to be part of my future. I don't have anything except the truth. And the truth is, we didn't lose Caroline 6 months ago. We lost her a long time ago. We just didn't notice, because we were too busy making sure I never felt lost. And in the end, that's exactly what I became. Lost, while she found a way out and never looked back.